Welcome to my Laura building. Well, as you can see, it's still in kind of a messy state, but these are two of my display racks. I've got this one and then over there behind that have my Laura shirts on them. And one of the things that people really have commented on in my videos over the years is my Laura shirts. So you're going to be seeing them again this year too. Now, I haven't actually done a Pepin trip video for a while. Partly it was because I was trying to experiment with other things. I did a couple years where I focused really on Instagram, and if you want to see pictures from them, check out my Sarah Utah Trundlebed Tales Instagram, the back pictures. But this year I'm going to go back to the video, and the second reason why I'd gotten off of it was that the camera I had used an editing program that will not run on Windows 10 machines. So now I have a different camera and I have a different editing program, and you've seen me use those on the unboxing videos and things on the channel. And so today we are going to be starting off on our Laura trip to Pepin, and we're going to do videos again this year. So step one is packing, and I'm going to pick some Laura shirts, and I will see you tomorrow when we're actually taking off. So come along, and I hope you have a good time. Good morning, and we're ready to get set on our trip to Pepin and points in between. So we're getting ready, and I have shown previously that I like to listen to the Little House books. Usually I had them on CD. Well, the CD, this car does not have a CD, or CD player, so I'm using Audible, which I sadly do not get a credit for their endorsement. But instead of listening to Little House in the Big Woods, which I usually do on my way up to Pepin, I'm going to listen to Becoming Laura Ingalls Wilder, and because I'm going to be going to Mansfield then next week, and I'll listen to this in between and get all deep in Laura again. So come along. This is my first stop. You know, I really hate to start a trip without a full tank of gas, and my original plan last night was to stop and fill up on my way home and then wash the car so it would be nice and pretty. But it was storming when I came home last night, so I didn't stop and fill up, and I didn't stop and wash the car, although the car did get rained on. So I was going to wash it this morning anyway, but looking at the sky, yeah, I don't want to wash it and then just have it go through rain. So we will just, I filled up, and we will just see how we do. Time to head on. Something I hope to do this trip is to give you kind of an idea of how far it is and how long it takes. So we started this at my house, which is 7 minutes and 5.2 miles apparently from here. We are we are heading out, and we will check into these times periodically through the trip. Well, the start of my trip, I normally get up to I-380, which is a interstate that connects Cedar Rapids and Waterloo, and it's a very pretty road, but I turn off part way to take 150. 150 is a highway, and it used to be pretty much the only way to go north in this section. There is actually a 4-lane divided highway that is 63. I normally bring that home, so I probably will this time, though I haven't decided for sure. And so I just wanted to give you a little feeling of driving along here, what a 2-lane road looks like. If you aren't used to driving in the countryside, this kind of road is 55 miles an hour. One of the things you have to be aware of as you're going through little towns like Independence here is the fast food restaurants, because public bathrooms can be an issue. There are lots of towns that the public bathrooms are either the gas station or the fast food restaurant, and that's about it. So you want to keep an eye out for places like, well, Dairy Queen right here. One thing that we need to talk about when we're driving, especially if you haven't done it a lot, drive out in the rural areas, is to be aware of the weather. And you can see that we've got some really pretty darn beautiful clouds above us, but they are, of course, dark with rain. One thing you need to do is to be aware of what county you're in. Because if you're listening to the weather, because things start to look at all questionable, warnings are given out by county. So that is important when it comes to figuring out what area you're in when you're used to driving in that area, when you don't really know it. So I strongly recommend anytime that you're driving that you not just depend on a navigation system, but that you have a map and that you keep a good eye out for things like town names and counties. And if you're actually not traveling by yourself, having a navigator keep track of those things is really helpful. You also want to have a system in place to actually know if there is a report of bad weather coming. And for that, I actually have a couple apps on my phone that I use, and I also listen to local weather sometimes. I'm not doing it right now, but I'm still listening to my book because, frankly, I don't think this is even going to be much in the way of rain, but it is dark enough that it made me think about it, and I wanted to talk to you. Another thing that can be very useful is to bear in mind that sometimes there's just going to be weather and it's going to rain. And if it rains pretty hard, there is absolutely nothing wrong with pulling over for a while and waiting rather than trying to drive through when you can hardly see. I mean, there's just nothing to be gained by risking yourself, even if you are in a hurry. And there have been several times where I have been on a Laura trip and I have had to pull over and stop just along the side of the road. There have been other times where I've looked at the weather and said, you know what, I'm going to have an early lunch and pull over and eat here, or, stop and get a drink and wait a while, or whatever. So just be flexible when it comes to weather. Be very aware of where you are and make sure you have a system to be warned. Remember, brighten the corner where you are. I hope you're enjoying coming along on this trip with me, and that you'll remember to check out all the other videos from this trip or any of the others. Check back on this video channel to find videos not only for the trip, but for all sorts of different things, including In the Kitchen with Laura and Trundlebed trails. Then look for us all around the web under Trundlebed Tales, on our blog on WordPress, on our podcast on Blog Talk Radio, on Facebook, on Twitter, and on Instagram. And no matter where you find us, remember to click the bell, honk the horn, and subscribe.